welcome again to another episode of Elephants in the Room. And today we're talking about Twitter and what a train wreck Twitter is. You know, the irony of the Twitter situation is that Elon Musk, the gentleman who was trying to buy it at that time, was stating that there were all these fake accounts on Twitter and blah 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 and blah blah blah. Go back before that, a lot of people were getting deplatformed off of Twitter for stating simple opinions or opinions that were not in line with, let's say, a certain party. And they would take you offline and, you'd just be off of Twitter. Well, people said, well, that's a conspiracy. You said the wrong thing, blank, blank, blank. Well, come to find out now is that Twitter was taking instructions from, I guess you can call it deep state. I don't know how you want to call it, but they were taking instructions for folks that were in the government, and deplatforming a lot of folks. And it's been going on for a certain amount of time. So if you roll back and you think about when Elon Musk, when he was about to purchase Twitter and he said, hey, I want to back out of this deal, he wanted to back out of it because there was some unscrupulous things happening in that company. And the gentleman who owned the company before, named Mr. Dorsey, he had to have known about certain things. But I digress. So fast forward to now, the purchase of Twitter has went through. They went to court. They figured out they were going to buy it. And so now Elon Musk, they wanted to force him to buy. He was going to be forced to buy Twitter. Let's back up there. And come to find out, after the purchases went through, everything this man has stated has been true. There are a bunch of fake accounts with Twitter. There's a narrative that was in place with Twitter. There are documents that Elon Musk now is dropping saying, hey, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. And the crazy part is that now the United States government is saying, hey, we need to keep a closer eye on Twitter, but they were not trying to do it before when they had control. Now they don't have control over it and somebody else does. Now we need to moderate that. Same thing with Facebook and any other platforms that mainstream media has their tentacles on. So it's funny that, now Mr. Musk is uncovering this. And he's saying, hey, this is a problem. That's a problem. This is a problem. What do you do? How do you do? Well, how do you mitigate it? One of the things that's occurred is that Donald Trump, he said that we should possibly suspend part of the Constitution. I'm taking it out of context, obviously, but he said we should suspend the Constitution. And people are like, well, he should be lambasted for saying that and all kind of things of that nature. But as you go down this road, it seems like, I could be wrong, but it seems like that there was definitely something going on with Twitter and the elections as far as suppression of information, as far as suppression of Hunter Biden and that information. Anything Hunter Biden-esque, was taken off of that platform. Anybody who said anything was taken off the platform. And heck, if you put Hunter in something, they probably deplatformed you on that alone. So you got to think that, what's really happening or what was happening in that culture, because that culture is definitely permeated, in San Francisco, tech area. That's where a lot of these tech companies are based out of. And they've been allowed to run rampant for years. And I would sit there and I would say, hey, a lot of these, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or whatever, possibly they should be made like a regular utility, like the phone. Nowadays, we have cell phones, but back in the day, you had the house phone, and it is what it is. You can get on the phone and you can talk and have whatever conversation you want to have, and When Facebook and YouTube and all these companies, when they first came on, it was just that. You could have a conversation. You could say certain things. You can expand your mind. If you wanted to voice your hate for whatever, you can voice it. But as me as the listener, I don't have to listen to it. I can go to something else. Fast forward to 2022, and people have themselves an uproar about every and any little thing, and that needs to be curtailed. You can't say that. You're anti-Semitic. You're this. So Twitter has a problem. Because now when Elon Musk took it over, a lot of these people who were what do you call it, advertising on it, and they were paying Twitter X amount of dollars, they started pulling out. And you got to ask yourself, wait a minute, you were not pulling out when the narrative was something else, when Twitter was censoring. And clearly, censorship has been going on. Clearly, your First Amendment rights, your freedom of speech rights have been curtailed for a lot of folks. And there was no rebuttal. Probably wrong word, but there was no rebuttal to what was happening, what was occurring. And even right now, as Elon Musk, as the perception is that he's trying to make it a level playing field for all, they have a problem with that because they still want to moderate the narrative, whatever that narrative is, whether you're Democratic or Republican, because that's what a lot of this comes down to on Twitter, or if it's an LGBTQ or any of those kind of things, or Jewish things, or whatnot. These things, they become prevalent on that platform. But the irony in this right here is that you can go onto Twitter and you can find porn, you can find all these different things because they're there. Terrorist groups have a Twitter page. There are terrorist groups that have YouTube pages. So when it comes to Twitter, it's just like, come on, the idea was I can tweet something and I can put my opinion out there. I can share it, whatever that may be. I like baseball. Well, the next person could despise baseball. They're this is an example. Their best friend could have got hit in the head with a baseball bat. So now they're totally against baseball. Well, should they be allowed to say, hey, no more baseball on Twitter? Because theoretically, that's kind of what occurred to some degree for some platforms. There are a lot of good information sites and information podcasts that were out there, and people tweeting good stuff. It's stuff that that was interesting, but stuff that made you think. And a lot of these people, they were tweeting these things, and all of a sudden they're deplatformed. And some people have a bigger microphone and a bigger presence, and their circle is bigger, and it's going to encompass a lot of people. And for some folks, that's scary. So they're like, hey, we got to put our finger on this, and we got to stop that. And I think when it comes to elections, you got to ask yourself, what's fake news? What's false? And allow myself or allow whoever is hearing it to decide that. Allow whoever is hearing it to say, hey, you know what? That could be true. Maybe it's not true, but at least I had all the information. Well, the way things are happening in our government right now, they want to make sure that you don't have the information. It was Denzel Washington. I don't have the exact quote, but he was basically saying if you listen to certain things, you're misinformed. And if you don't, you're not informed. It was some to that degree. That's how he said it. And it's very true. If you listen to the news and you take them at face value, you'll be going down the wrong road because you don't know what they're telling you. And when you go to Twitter and you think, well, hey, these people are verified and these tweets they gotta be, it has to be the truth. Because you're dependent on them to police. And honestly, if I'm tweeting something, I don't need Twitter to police it. And unless I'm saying I'm going to off somebody or something crazy like that. But an opinion is just that. It's an opinion. And as a person, I should be able to voice my opinion whatever that opinion may be. I got to tell you, I was a soldier, and we're always told we're fighting for freedoms, but our freedoms are slowly eroding quickly. So with this Twitter thing, I would advise everybody to take a look at it and dig into it. Don't just look at it for what CNN says. Don't look at it for what Fox says. Don't look at it for whoever. Look at it in totality. Look at different sources, and look at the alternative networks too. Because you're not going to get all your information from CNN. I have people in my family right now that probably will hear this. You do not get all your information from CNN or from MSNBC or from Fox or from any of them. You have to have differing points of view, so that way you can sift through it, and the things that have substance will they'll be right there for you to see. But right now, I believe with Twitter, all this is coming to light, and people are just like, oh my God, that can't be, that didn't happen. But there's documentation that these things have been occurring. What I would love to see is YouTube come up there, and let's see what's going on with YouTube, because there's some podcasts I've listened to in the past, SGT Report and a couple different ones that they got deplatformed for what? I mean, there was some great podcasts on YouTube that I used to listen to. I go a step further. A lot of folks, he's a polarizing figure, but Alex Jones, he had a show on XM Radio for a while, and I would listen to that. Sometimes he has an interesting person on there, and he talks about this and talks about that. Well, before I knew it, they were taking him off of XM, but you kept Howard Stern. For a long time, there was a gentleman named Imus. He had this big raunchy cowboy hat. It looked stupid, to be honest with you. But, it took him telling the girls from a school in New Jersey that they were nappy-headed blank, 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 for people to realize, wait a minute, what's being said? But even with that, he was back on the air. So we live in a society that, that is really jacked up right now when it comes to what you can say and what you can't say. And this Twitter situation, I think it's going to come to a head, and it should come to a head. You have somebody in there now who's trying to straighten it up, but you have so many factions now that are lining up against Elon. I think the latest thing they're trying to see, hey, why do you have beds in the office? Why are you, that kind of thing. And they're trying to check out his finances, and they're trying to check out that. So I would implore people to look at what happens when you stand up against the narrative. That's how they're treating them, And I look at this Twitter thing, and I'm like, okay, he's releasing information after information after information, and people refuse to listen to the truth. And the people who should be listening to him and doing something about this won't do anything about it. That's the elephant in the room. They will not do what they need to do to say, hey, you know what? We have a free society. And I would challenge people to say, hey, ask yourself this: do we have a free society? Do we have a free society? Can you go out there and say to the world, hey, I believe this? You can't. You just can't do it. It's a fallacy, So in the United States, you say, hey, we're the land of the free, the home of the brave. But we're not the land of the free no more, to a degree. And people aren't as brave as they used to be, because if you show a form of bravery and open your mouth and say something that somebody that's woke doesn't like, then we're going to cancel you. It's going on every day. And this Twitter situation, only thing Twitter's doing right now is it's exposing it. It's coming out. It's coming out. And there's only so long these people that they can clearly hope to hold down truths and opinions. I mean, if some people have a little age on them, there used to be a show called Star Trek, I think New Generation, something like that. And there was this group that Picard was going up against called the Borg or whatnot. The Borg, they all thought the same. Everything was in line. It's just, it was this blah. If you, there was no opposite opinion. You went with the crew, the Borg. I mean, everything they thought the same. They ate the same. It was just the same. We as a people are steadily getting to that situation in the United States. That's the crazy part. But at the same time, we're getting to that situation, to that Borg-like level. We are still casting this projection onto the world that we are the greatest nation in the world. And we are pretty good. However, it's kind of like what do you call a paper tiger. We're projecting something, but when you really get into it, it's really not what you think it is. Well, that's all I got for that subject right there. Welcome to Elephants in the Room. I hope you enjoyed the quick talk here. We'll have some other interesting interviews coming up later. Thank you.